Here we are, guys. Been a while. As always, I will give you a couple of minutes to start joining in. Then, once we got a couple of people watching the stream, I will start reviewing the game and also answering your questions. So you know the drill already. Uh, if if you have any questions, if any thoughts, anything regarding the game or beyond the game, drop your comments down below, and I'll try and get to as many as I can throughout the stream. As you guys are joining in, I will also I'll just share the stream. But yeah, if anyone has already joined, please drop your comments down below and your questions, and I will make sure to get to them in due time. Right, okay, there are some people joining in just now, so I will start. Right. Obviously didn't make it in the end. We scored 3 goals. It wasn't enough. Needed one more, which is a bit funny when you think about it, because in the last game, in the first leg, they overruled that Kubarsi goal, right? Which should have stood, by all means, should have stood. They destroyed our momentum with that, obviously, and we had that Joan Garcia mistake that led to the goal. So when you look at it that way, well, first of all, I do want to say that we were never meant to be in this position in the first place, right? Losing 4-0. I don't care which team is on the other side of the pitch. Losing 4-0, especially in a semi final of any competition, it doesn't matter that it's Copa del Rey. People will say, oh, it's Copa del Rey, so it's nothing special. But I don't really agree with that. This is the competition that we have been dominating for years. This is our competition. This is where we always do well, or mostly always do well. And I think for this domestic dominance to be complete, you need Copa del Rey as well. And when you're so close to the title, to any kind of title, it hurts when you drop it at almost the last hurdle, right? The second to last hurdle. But no, I do agree. I'm glad that these comments are coming in just now, and that you guys seem to agree. This was a fantastic effort by the team. Um, Kool-Aid767 says, proud of the team. Yeah, absolutely. I am as well. This was a monumental performance, guys. And I think we were inches away from actually turning this around. I believed the whole way. Like even at 4-0, I believed. And one thing I will say though, and I said this in the first leg as well. We scored 1 goal in that first leg. I was absolutely certain. I was willing to guarantee, stake whatever it takes to that claim that we will go to the final if we just score 1 goal. We couldn't score that 1 goal in the first leg. And I think that Kubarsi goal that VAR ultimately annulled. I think that one hurts a lot. It really hurts a lot. So when everything's said and done, though, it is what it is, right? At the end of the day, we didn't score enough goals, even though we scored 3. It's just insane. But I will say again, guys, just losing that first leg 4-0, that is the unacceptable part, because this Barca team can topple anyone on their day, right? And the nature of knockout football is such that these volatile teams that are unpredictable, chaotic, and capable of anything on their day, that type of competition, the knockout competition, does suit those teams. And somehow, I still believe that this team can do something um, meaningful, something of significance. But we'll see. Anyway, we'll there's not much to. I do want to say that the whole context of the game played in our hands. I know Atletico Madrid are in the final, and I know they beat us 4-0 in the first leg. But see this mentality of Atletico Madrid or Diego Simeone. I don't know who. I mean, he was the mastermind behind this. But to come to the Camp Nou consistently every single time, cast your mind back to any home game the Barca have played against Atletico Madrid. If you can, try and remember those games and in what shape or with what tactics did Atletico Madrid play. They constantly go to the Camp Nou and they turtle up, they park the bus, they try to survive against Barca. That's why Diego Simeone can't beat Barcelona at home because he gives them all the agency. Tonight was the same. And the context or the game state, if you will, was perfect because if this Barca was ever going to score 3 or 4 goals against this Atletico Madrid, it was going to be in that game state where they have them pinned down and they can just bombard them with attacks. Why? Because there's two things. Obviously, the offensive phase, that's when we are in full control. That's when we dictate the game. That's when we play the game on our own terms. But number two, defensively as well, when you have the opponent pinned down like that, and everything, all the football is played in these small spaces, that's when Barca's counter pressing is also on point because you can't really stretch them out if they manage to cut the ball or the passes at the source, which is exactly what counter pressing is all about for Barcelona. So I think this game state was perfect for Barcelona to actually do the remontada. And partly, well, not partly, a big blame for that goes to Cholo Simeone because he just comes to Camp Nou with this defeatist mentality. He's scraped. Now, obviously, this is just me grasping at straws because he's the one that's in the final, not Flick. And he's the one who's probably going to win the Copa del Rey, not Flick, not Barcelona, right? But the fact of the matter remains that this is why he generally doesn't do as well in final or winning title. Obviously, he's done tremendous work as the Atletico Madrid coach, and he's been in what 2 Champions League finals. Obviously, it didn't go his way, and this is, I believe, his second Copa del Rey final in many years. And Atletico Madrid have spent, guys, Atletico Madrid have spent so much money in the last 2 or 3 seasons, like half a billion or something. So he needs some sort of a result. He can't always say, "Oh, well, we're kind of keeping up with Barca and Madrid," and Barca and Madrid being in the same league as Atletico Madrid it cannot always be Cholo Simeone's excuse. So yeah, this is this is the golden opportunity. They have to win the final, and they probably will, right? Because no disrespect to their opponents, but they are going into that final as heavy favorites, even though they've been absolutely demolished by Barcelona. Now, I would say that again, losing 4-0 to them unacceptable. But you know what? A good way to actually enact your revenge on Atletico Madrid is to number one beat Newcastle and then potentially meet Atletico Madrid if they go through as well in the second knockout stage of Champions League, and that will also be a 2 game tie, and we can't allow this to happen again. But anyway, yes, proud of the team, absolutely cool. 767. I think what we saw tonight was a monumental effort, and this team is so young. They're so young and they're so enthusiastic. They're so passionate about what they do and the way that they play football. It was incredible to see. Hopefully this is the lesson for us for the Champions League. We can't play like we did in the first leg. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. That first leg is unacceptable. And just what I mean, losing 4-0, it's just right. But yes, Bernal, and this is the thing with Bernal, right? The more he plays, the better he becomes. And it was just a matter of him getting that match sharpness and actually being able to start and finish games fully. and do it more consistently. That was the only thing that was missing because he was fit. He was mentally ready for the challenge as well. It was just about getting him match ready or match sharp to play a 90 minute game of exhausting and intense football, and that's exactly what he's done. So kudos to him, and obviously his goal scoring just keeps getting better, right? But we talked about this a lot, and on the channel here, and on our blog, and on Twitter, everywhere. And it's funny because at times Mark Bernal is the number six, but then Mark Bernal also finds himself so high up in the box. It just shows you how fluid this Barca are because you've got Pedri and Bernal in midfield. They constantly interchange positions. One and the other, both can be deep, both can be higher, and then the third midfielder kind of adapts to their movement. Fermin was mostly an advanced midfielder, but then again, that was not always the case. And Barca do play a recognizable 4-3-3, or at least they do play a trident in midfield, which is what people have been calling for forever, right? Right, let's see what else you've got, guys. Fantastic game, great effort with a bit of luck, would have finished winners, absolutely. And I think more than just luck in this game was just a bit more was needed in the first leg. Even if we say, okay, Barca were horrible in the first leg, which to a large extent it is true. I think we were damaged by the referees in the first leg as well, the VAR and the momentum that was snatched away from us. I think all of that played a massive part. And also Joan Garcia making that mistake, that doesn't really happen. And yes, people will say, well, he leads the numbers and errors leading to goals with goalkeepers in La Liga. Yes, he does. But that's like, he's made like two. That would be my guess. That's off the top of my head from memory. Um, but yeah, first leg should have been better. That was the key. People talk a lot of crap on Cancelo for this loan. He was a monster today. Press assistant, pausa, technical beast. Yeah, I think so. I would agree, Bentley. I think for João Cancelo, it was all about getting him fit. Same as Bernal in a sense, because João Cancelo, when he arrived, he was a mess, right? He just he couldn't really play football at the required level physically, first and foremost, and then come the tactical parts or the synergy with his teammates and within Flick systems and all that. Because Flick obviously knows how he wants to use Cancelo, and Cancelo can play those roles, but it was just about physically getting him to the required level, and that was the only thing. Now that he is there, I would say, okay, obviously we're going to see a lot more of him, especially now considering that Kunde and Balde are injured. And now I don't know the extent of their injuries. If you do know that, let me know in the comments. I'll have a look. But with both of our fullbacks, or even one of our even if one is injured, you would imagine that Cancelo will, as a direct result of that, get more game time, and he should. That's why he was brought in. And he was good to your point, Manley. I think that even if you say Cancelo cannot defend, Cancelo is not really an asset off the ball. Yeah, that can be valid in certain scenarios, but I think what he brings on the ball, and yes, technical beast, I like that because so many times tonight you've seen him manipulate the ball in tight spaces and retain possession, and then on top of that, create these chances for us. Outstanding. Um, So I think he did his part, and more than just did his part. He was fantastic. I would agree, Van Lee. Um, Tough pill to swallow. It is, especially see when you're this close to something that's so incredible. And I'm part of that group of people who've been hyping up this tie. Well, since the first leg, essentially. And some people will say, "Well, that's the wrong approach. We need to be realistic. This was never going to happen." But it was going to happen. And the first step towards making that happen was to believe and to say, okay, this team can do it. Imagine if Flick came out spoke to the media and said, "Well, we don't really think we can turn this around." Now, you might think, okay, he has to say we're going to fight. He has to say we're going to try and do our best. He absolutely has to say that. Yes, he does. He can't go out there and say that we're not going to try. But at the same time, with Flick and with this young team, especially, I feel like they truly believed in that. The whole team believed in that comeback, and you could see in the way they played. You could see in how they contested every single tackle, every single duel, and we were winning everything across the pitch. Atletico Madrid couldn't even have any of the possession, and they couldn't even win in the things that they're generally better at. So what an effort. Flick made a blunder of not playing Cancelo left wing first leg with the injury. Yeah, I think obviously Cancelo can play left winger, and I think there is some merit to that. Tonight there was a bit of at certain points I felt like Cancelo and Lamine were kind of bumping into each other, occupying similar zones, and then not exactly knowing where one or the other should go. And that comes as a result of them not playing together as much, but also due to the fact that they both do like to generally occupy similar zones. Because Cancelo as well on the right side, he likes to invert, he likes to occupy that similar zone that Kunde occupies, which is kind of deeper and inverted. And then from there, he can then cross the ball into the box. Obviously, Cancelo is far more versatile going forward than Kunde, but that characteristic is kind of what they have in common. Cancelo is the left winger. I talked about this last time as well. I think that when you have a player of Lamine's quality and gravity here meaning that he will pull opposition players toward himself and he will force multiple opposition players to collapse on top of him and try and mark him out of the game, which then obviously creates space elsewhere most of the time on the opposite side of the pitch. And if you have Cancelo isolated on the left side as the left winger, I don't know if that's the best use of your resources because he's not really an isolation player. He's a decent dribbler, obviously, and an elite creator when it comes to passing the ball. He can carry the ball. Don't get it twisted. He can carry the ball, but I don't think that in open spaces, one on one, he's the guy that you always want isolated. You would rather have someone else like Rashford, for example, or even Rafinha. Although Rafinha is obviously much better at just running and then receiving the ball. But maybe Vanley, I don't know. I don't know how that will work with Balde being behind Cancelo, and then obviously with the isolation that I just talked about. I don't like the Araujo 9 gimmick. You know what? He's never going to be in Barca number 9. We can definitely cross that one out. But then tonight was all about being forced into these decisions. I don't think Flick wanted to have um, Balde subbed in so early. I don't think he wanted to have only Ferran Torres as a striker option. Then no Lewandowski, obviously, and then Ferran having to be subbed off because he wasn't doing the work. And then with no fullbacks left, you just have to improvise. And I think Araujo at 9, it has its merits because especially going towards the end of the game, where mostly what you do is you want to get the ball into the box as soon as possible, and playing against this Atletico Madrid side who really compacted the middle and really did not allow much room to navigate those spaces. More often than not, the most direct route is just across into the box. So from that perspective, it does seem that Araujo did have a purpose. Right? I'm not saying that he will ever be a Barca number 9. Obviously, he will not. But it makes sense for us to actually try and go for something like that. This is actually not good for Atleti from a mental standpoint. Yeah, I know, and I can see the Vanley that you've already passed Newcastle in the Champions League. You're already in the quarterfinals. I like that, and I do think that we should genuinely do that, and I hope we'll make it to the quarterfinals and beyond. because we can beat Newcastle, and guess what? We can definitely beat Atletico Madrid, which would take us to, well, most likely Arsenal in the semifinals, right? And that's the biggest hurdle. But obviously, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So, but I do believe, I agree with you, Vanley. If we do meet Atletico Madrid in the quarterfinals, I would absolutely back us to do it, to beat them, not just because we're the better side, but also because of the mental standpoint, as you said, and also another psychological factor into all this. Yes, they are shaken by this performance from us, but we're also not done with them. I think that's the approach that we need to take here. We're not done with them. We've done damage to them, but ultimately this was their victory, not ours. So I think Barca need to still assume this revenge mentality, if you will. Your boy Frankie may come back and lose his job. I don't think he will. And I think Frankie comes if when he comes back and Bernal continues playing the way he does, all that's going to happen, Vanley, it's going to be Frankie and Pedri number eights and Bernal number six. That's going to happen. Who else is going to take Frankie's spot? No one. He's the second best midfielder in the team by far. And obviously Bernal, I would back Bernal to be the long term number six. Uh, anyway, and that goes beyond my love for Frankie De Jong. I do the same as most of you guys. I do dream of the Bernal, Gavi, and Pedri midfield. I do. I really like the idea of that and the romance of that. I love it. But yes, I think at the moment Frankie comes back and Bernal keeps playing. That's the midfield three. And guess what? That midfield three would be insane because all three players can play deep. All three players can play high. All three players are highly press resistant, highly technical. They have attacking instincts as well. But Nal and Pedri are better defensively than Frankie is. But Frankie is an athletic beast. So that midfield has the tools to be very, very balanced. So 14-0 at the renovated Camp Nou. I love the enthusiasm and the optimism, Van Lee. Let's hope it happens. Wolves beat Liverpool. Liverpool are a mess anyway, but uh, well, a mess. Well, um, Barca did amazing. I think so. I would agree. I think this was a performance worthy of praise, and I do think, guys, I do think that um, this team this team has such a high ceiling, incredibly high ceiling. But the problem is there's also a couple of gaping holes in the team. Tonight, for me, the biggest gaping hole was the number nine spot because we just didn't have anyone there. Ferran has his uses, has his level at which he is useful. If you play him, if he has to fill, shoes that are too big for him, this is what happens. When he does play against, in games that match his level or match his style, then yes, he can still be useful. But he's not a starting number nine for Barcelona, or he shouldn't be. Really shouldn't be. Um, yeah, I'm not sure what Madrid fans are saying. I'm not seeing anyone on the timeline really, so I don't know what they're saying. I'm not sure if you mean Atletico Madrid fans or Real Madrid fans, but either way, I've not seen many. Um, I've seen many of them panic. Many Atletico Madrid fans panic at 3-0, panic at 2-0, panic at 1-0. So I think, and that's what I was saying. I was saying before the game, not a single Atletico Madrid fan is relaxed. Cholo is not relaxed, and their players are not relaxed because they know that even at 4-0, if one team can do this, it's Barca. We scored three goals without a striker. Exactly my point, Horazna. So it just imagine a Victor Osimhen in this team tonight. I mean, or just imagine a striker who's a level above what we've got or just at the required level that we need at the moment. Barca, oof, it will be very, very tough to stop. It was very close. I do agree, and sometimes sometimes it's easier to swallow the pill um, when you're not so close to actually doing the impossible. When you come this close and then fail, it kind of feels bad. If you never came close in the first place, it kind of feels less bad, I guess. But then I am really proud of the team tonight. We're definitely the best attacking team left in the Champions League. You know, I do agree. I think on our day we the amount of firepower that we've got is just it's incredible. I think when it comes to exactly that, I think Bayern are very similar to us on their like on a good day. Bayern steamroll everything and everyone. On a bad day, they make relegation sides look like they have fortresses in defense. So there's multiple teams that are experiencing these problems. Obviously, Arsenal are the big favorites, but they're not really an attacking juggernaut. They do score goals. It's just that they're not really known for that because they don't have the quality in attack, and they are experiencing some on the ball systemic issues, like in the build up, for example. And then obviously they do have their set pieces. That's an entirely different bag of tricks. Right? People say I'm not actually mad at all. Yeah, I'm not mad at this performance, but that first leg, how do you lose 4-0? It's just that was a thing. And I'm going back to that VAR decision as well. Horrible. Andrew Garcia mistake. Um which, not typical things. But it's two goals. Two goals. Makes all the difference in the end. We should be very proud of the performance today. Absolutely, yes, Horizon. Very, very proud. Don't I think you're not giving Cho enough credit. Like 3 goals scoring chances. Yeah, I do think that he deserves to be in the final. Obviously, the team that wins ultimately is the team that deserves it. But I'm not discrediting his success. I just feel like he goes into Camp Nou games with this defeatist mentality. He goes to survive and then banks on these occurrences that may or may not happen. Look at that first tie. Where was that Atletico Madrid tonight? Like they're capable of such performances. They're capable of putting 4 goals past Barca and then be defensively solid. But Cholo, when he goes to Camp Nou, he just lose. I don't know what happens to him. But obviously, as a coach, and especially as an Atletico Madrid coach, what he means to them is it's irreplaceable. And yes, 3 goal scoring chances, but I think 2 were offside or something. I don't know. I don't. But yes, I do agree with you, Vanley. I may have been a bit harsh on him, but I do think that a better approach or just different mentality, Cholo could do more damage to Barca because he has all the tools to do it. He has the quality and the tools to do it, and also the his players. They can. There's not many teams that can survive a Barca onslaught, and we saw that tonight because even a team as stable as Atletico Madrid can concede 3+ goals for Barcelona. But we'll see. Anyway, what do you think of Barca in the Champions League? Do you think we stand a chance of winning it? Uh, it was a favorable draw. I'll say that much. And I do believe that Barca can go all the way, but they can as easily lose to Newcastle and not never advance past the round of 16. That's just the way Barca play at the moment. Things have to fall into place, or would have to fall into place for this to happen. Coflex, it's possible. The biggest hurdle would be the semifinal, and then potentially in the final we can obviously meet. Well, we can meet any of these bigger quote unquote teams. Your PSGs and your Bayerns, your Man Cities. They're all on the opposite side of the draw, so we can meet either of them in the final. The biggest hurdle will be obviously Arsenal on our side of the draw, but then you do need to get through Newcastle and then potentially Atletico Madrid to get to them in the first place. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, Horizon. So disallowed goal in the first half turned out to be decisive. I hate that. I hate that. It's true, obviously, but I hate that fact. I hate that it was the referees that once again managed to play a massive part in this. So I don't know. It's one of those things that I wish it was only down to football. I wish it was only down to us not being good enough. Which obviously, don't get me wrong, that played a massive part because how did you concede 4 goals? But then I hate that there was these external circumstances that also play a massive part. What a game, guys. My respect to each and every Barca player on the pitch. Absolutely. And now the question remains now that we have made such an effort. I mean, Pedri was barely standing at the end of the all. So people will say, well, see, it was not worth it to go all out. But I think I would rather have this in us feeling pride and feeling proud of what we've done and what we've tried to achieve than just surrendering and saying, look, you know what? We're not fighting for this title because this is a lost cause. As a Barca coach, as Barcelona, as a brand, as a football club, as an institution, as a family, they cannot really allow themselves that. They need to be trying. They need to be doing this constantly, right? That they need to be trying to win everything, no matter the odds. They need to be trying, and I'm glad we tried. I would risk Cancelo, Samamea, play Gerard Martin and Eric as the fullbacks. That match is a must win. Yeah, I think. Funny thing is, Barca could have obviously with a better first leg, they could have beaten Atletico Madrid. In La Liga, we are 4 points clear, right? But it's only four. It was meant to be so much more. Like, how are we only 4 points above Madrid? We've dropped so many stupid points in La Liga that is bothering me a lot. But yeah, I mean, Gerard Martin and Eric as a fullbacks, it will work. Obviously, you do have to realize that then neither of your fullbacks is very advanced. They're similar in the way that they can operate. Obviously, both have their qualities, but then you do lose that bit of attacking firepower in terms of who can overlap, who can attack space, and how do we exploit open space and isolations. Again, if other teams put 2 or 3 players on the Lamine, how are we using that man advantage? Where else on the pitch can we create an advantage as a result of that? But yeah, it is a must win, and I think with Athletic not being, either. See, the thing is, on paper, we should have won more games in the last, I don't know, couple of weeks as well. But then, you know, La Liga can be unpredictable as well. Will the fans be back for the Newcastle game? I don't know. Um, Considering we really thought that those fans will be back for this game, I hope so, Thomas. I hope so. But I don't know. I don't have that information, unfortunately. But now Busquets reborn with less passing and presence, but more physically and goal scoring. Something like he's more of a Rodri when you think about it. He's more of a Rodri, but he's got more than just Rodri in him as well. A bit of Pogba in there. What's up with Olmo? He's so slow making decisions, kind of sloppy. Olmo is a moments player. Like he can. Um, yeah, I think that's a great definition of Olmo. He's not someone who will thrill you for the full 90 minutes. He can do that, but then again, doesn't always happen. However, he only needs a moment to do something magical. And often that's how he works, right? In those moments of magic. Barsi and Araujo starting at CB to stop them burn and potentially. Well, let's see how we handle these injuries and how these injuries will force Flick's hand because yeah, that might play a big role. Kubarsi was insane tonight. Like he was aside from Lamine and obviously Pedri as well, Kubarsi was on a different level entirely. Like outstanding, outstanding. But yes, we lost both of our fullbacks, Cancelo on the left and Eric on the right. I think that's what's going to happen next. Yeah, Kunde and Balde are out. Eric is coming back. He wasn't playing due to the red card, but he will play obviously in the Liga and the Champions League. So yes, this is a likely scenario. Obviously, Araujo might feature somewhere in there. He might be next to Kubarsi, as Van Lee has suggested. But then we'll see. We'll see. I don't think Flick at this point he doesn't really trust Araujo to be a starter anyway. Disappointed, but proud of them. Just wish we were able to defend like this more often. Yeah, it's the thing with performances like these. This one, guys, is that this was not a normal performance, right? This was something that these players were carried by the momentum. They were carried by the occasion, and this is, when we see these quote unquote smaller teams do some cause so much trouble to Barcelona. This is what they're experiencing. The gigantic event that's happening, the occasion of playing Barcelona at their own home ground is so big that it makes them do supernatural things, right? And to a certain extent, Barca experienced that rush, that special energy tonight, and that's why we were able to do what we did. Ultimately, it wasn't enough, obviously, but still. Rashford should be playing over Ferran. Yeah, they're both kind of sloppy at number 9, but I think that you could try it. I didn't like the way Rashford was used tonight, to be honest with you. He was too wide, too isolated, too away from the box. We had to use his inevitable ball striking more tonight. Like, just have him shoot a goal. Like, have him do it because chances are he's going to do something with it. Would you start a Bernal Frank Pedro midfield with Arsenal? Bernal height would be needed. I would. I mean, absolutely, I would. You need Bernal. You need all three of them. Obviously, Arsenal they play. They have massively different strengths to us, but at the same time, yes, I do agree with you. I would start them. I mean, that midfield can start against anyone. It can be your non-negotiable midfield because there's no situational players in that midfield. If Bernal plays the way he does, and I think he will continue playing well, then there's no situational picks in that. Joe Martin, he is. He is. He's not really good in open spaces, Jared Martin. Bit slow on the turn, a bit heavy in the turn on his step, a bit of heaviness in his step. So, yes, I would say that it could be, I don't know, could be a mismatch, yeah, but don't have that many options, so we'll see. Omo Rashford should have started. Yeah, maybe. I just it seems that Flick is now really keen on the false nine. He's not really keen on Rashford at number 9 as well. But Ferran, to your point, yeah, he's not really staking his claim. I would say Rafa and Ferran killed the game today. I don't. Why do you think Rafinha killed the game? I think you need Rafinha on the pitch in these games. If there was ever going to be a comeback, it will be with a team that has Rafinha in it, right? I don't not without him. If we play like this every game, we easily win the Champions League. Well, that's the thing. I just talked about that, Daniel. It's very difficult for a team to play like this every single game because number one, they've all they could all barely walk at the end of it. That's number one. Number two, not every occasion will be as big or as important or as hyped up as tonight. And that psychological factor is massive in these games. I mean, Rafinha is limited in many ways. It's just about optimizing for his profile. How do you make the most out of his profile? And when you do, he performs really, really well. You meant we have 40 straight. I'm too tired, man. It's late. I've been up since very early in the morning. Had work today, the gym, just had some food, and then watched the game, and now I'm here. So yeah, I get what you mean, Manly. Right, 14 straight wins at home. No, that's yeah, yeah. The more I see the team, uh, dude, Victor Osimhen would absolutely destroy everyone if he was a Barca. He would. I know people will say, "Oh, what about his personality?" Yeah, I I didn't I agree with that. I think that it could pose a problem, but then if there's someone who could potentially work on that, it is Flick. And also players that come to Barca. You come to Barca and certain things are expected of you because it's not an ordinary transfer. So players will go out of their way to adapt and do what's necessary, do the changes that are necessary. So I think Osimhen would adapt in that way. So my honest opinion about Ferran performance, I there's not much to say there. Look, he's been bad, plain and simple bad. Not or let's put it this way: as again, has his use, but he's just not at a required level. Not at a required level. Same here. Yeah, just answered that as well. Um, they cannot make the mistake and go for Julian Alvarez. I do agree. Like I think Julian Alvarez would score goals. Obviously for Barcelona, he's just an amped up Fermin Lopez, and yes, that's not entirely true. He is a couple of levels above that, obviously, but I think this Barca would do much better with a profile that is more akin to Osimhen. Vlahovic, again, a very temperamental striker, runs hot and cold. He does rely on momentum. He does have great instincts when it comes to shooting and inside the area. However, he's very erratic in his finishing. Like he's not really his finishing is not really stable or consistent enough. So, um, but I still think he would be an upgrade on Ferran. Obviously, when a striker more than a center back, yeah, I do believe that most of the issues defensively can generally be solved by tweaking the collective rather than plugging the perfect individual in the team. There's no doubt in my mind that a center back would elevate this team, but yes, I am leaning towards a striker myself. Again, guys, this is our coffee stream bot. If you want to donate a couple of dollars, buy us a coffee, that would be much appreciated. I do need one just now because I'm barely keeping my eyes open. A couple more questions, guys, and that'll be me because I I can't. I'm done. Dom, I was thinking at the semifinal stage. I'm happy to have the first leg first against Arsenal. They're not a team to overcome. Look at yeah, they're not the sort of team that will steamroll you. Um, I do agree with that. Obviously, the psychological impact of having the second leg at home is massive. But yes, to your point, maybe that would be enough. Just scoring goals against Arsenal is very difficult, and then they might not be the biggest, strongest offensive team, but they do have exactly the needed tools to hurt this Barca team. We need a striker ASAP, absolutely do, and it will happen this summer for better or worse because I don't know what who will go for given our finances, but I do think we'll go for a striker. What do you think about our summer profile? Yeah, I used to say center back, but we can't. The fact of the matter remains, we can't go into another season with Ferran and slash or Lewandowski. It won't work. This team will always find ways to score goals. Flick can make even Ferran Torres look like an elite striker, but you get an actual elite striker in there, plug him in, and this Barca scores 20 more goals easy. Breaking news: Kuna Balde both. hamstring, that's that means they'll be out for a while. Unfortunately, that means they'll be out for a while. That definitely means they'll miss the Champions League action against Newcastle. We won't have both of our fullbacks. We won't have Frankie. Oh, yeah, not really ideal. They don't understand about our position. It is about collective and individual. Yeah, it is mostly about the collective. Defending is a collective thing. Pressing is a collective thing. Absolutely. Right, guys. I think I'm going to end it here. It's been 45 minutes. Thank you for staying with me for such a long time because I am visibly tired. I can see that. I'm looking at myself myself on the screen and I can't believe I look like a zombie. But I am that tired. Thank you for joining. We'll have more content coming your way this week. Again, it's been a bit slow. We're kind of struggling to just coordinate stuff, I guess. But I'll we'll try and get more content your way soon. If you want to, please do subscribe um, to the blog and the channels and all that stuff. And yeah, and don't be too sad about the loss tonight because it was a great effort and it was always going to be a massive thing to do or maybe an impossible thing to do. But this Barca can do anything, guys. We're so close to having a team that can do it all. I'm certain of it. Yes, the team is very young and it's far from perfect. Far from perfect. We all know this. But I'm telling you, we're not really that far either. So there you go. Right, guys. Thank you so much. Stay safe. Have a good night or a good day, wherever you are in the world. And as always, Visca El Barça.